Okay, if you need any help setting up the problem, just make sure that you ask. But this video is only to show you how to graph it. Okay, so starting with our first one, Sawyer's photography, I have that my B equals 30. So that'll be the very first point that I plot. I go to my y-axis and find 30, which is right between 20 and 40. And then I look at my M, but if you notice, it says I'm going up 6 and to the right 1. The only problem here is that this graph on the y-axis goes up by 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So it's actually just going up by tens. So the minute I move up 1, I just went up 10. So I can't really count 6 unless I do some estimating. But we want to find an exact point where they meet. So I use equivalent fractions because if I go up 6 over 1, it's the same thing if I doubled it and I just went up 12 over 2. And so on. So I just have to find an equivalent fraction that's going to help me with this type of graph. So since it's going up by tens, I want here in my numerator, I want a multiple of 10. So multiples of 10 would be anywhere between 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Any of those would work. Now I know that 6 times 5 gives me 30, so I can make that 30. And then on a fraction, to make it equivalent, whatever you do to the top, you have to do to the bottom. And then you get 1 times 5, which is 5 as well. Okay, so then we have 6 over 1 is equal to 30 over 5, which is true because I just made it an equivalent fraction. So now I can go to my graph and I can actually go up 30 and to the right 5. Since my y-axis goes up by tens and my x-axis goes up by 5s. So I go up 10, 20, 30, and then I run 5, which is really just moving one spot over to line up with the 5 on the x-axis. So that's where my next point would be. And then remember that if I wanted to make more points and make sure that my line is good, I can keep doing that. So I can keep going up 30 and over 5, and that would be my next point. Okay, and then you create your line. And then move on to the next one. So the next one tells me that my B is 10. So I'm going to start at 10 on the y-axis. And then same thing. We have 8 over 1. I can't go up 8 because it's counting by tens. So I need a number here in the numerator that it is a multiple of 10. So 8 times 2 gives me 16. That's not a multiple of 10. 8 times 3 gives me a multiple of 20. Gives me 24, which is also not a multiple of 10. 8 times 4 gives me 32. Still not a multiple of 10. But if I do 8 times 5, that gives me 40. And 40 is a multiple of 10, so I can actually rise 40. And then whatever I do to the top, I have to do to the bottom. So I get 40 over 5, which I can do because I start counting here. 10, 20, 30, 40, and then over 5. There's my next point. Okay, and then just to make sure that my line is straight and good, go up again, 10, 20, 30, 40, and over 5. So I actually end up at this point. So before I even graph it, we can kind of already see what point they're going to share, but still need to make our line. Okay, and then remember that your solution is always the point where they are crossing. Clearly they cross at that point because that's the point that both lines had. and that point is going to be 5, 90. And then remember that your x, this is x comma y, and then your x is talking about the portrait sheets and your y is talking about the cost. So when you make your sentence, make sure that you make it make sense.